Good morning, everyone. It's Friday, June 25th, coming to you live from Seoul. I'm Kim Mo-gen. Before we begin, these are the stories we're following at the top of the hour. President Moon Jae-in took part in a virtual summit with leaders of countries that make up the Central American Integration System, also known as CECA. They're expected to discuss future cooperation for a sustainable and inclusive economic recovery from the pandemic. John Kirby, spokesman for Washington's Department of Defense, has called the Korean War anniversary a reminder of how much importance the U.S. places on security for the Korean Peninsula. And South Korea reports new daily infections in the 600s for the third straight day. Meanwhile, as the vaccination drives pick up pace, authorities are mulling over the possibility of rolling out booster shots to enhance immunity. President Moon Jae-in this morning held a virtual summit with leaders of countries that make up the Central American Integration System, also known as CECA. The association was launched in 1991 to promote regional development, bringing together Costa Rica, Belize, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, Panama, and the Dominican Republic. It's the fourth meeting of its kind, but a first for President Moon, with the last one held in 2010. They're expected to have discussed future cooperation for a sustainable and inclusive economic recovery from the pandemic. The top office expects the summit to serve as a platform to expand cooperation with CECA member states and expand South Korea's diplomatic horizon to Central and South America. A linchpin of peace is what the Pentagon calls the South Korea and U.S. alliance as they mark the 71st anniversary of the outbreak of the 1950 to 1953 Korean War today. John Kirby, spokesman for the Department of Defense, says Thursday that for the past 7 decades plus, Washington's commitment to the alliance has been ironclad. He also hailed the relationship as essential for peace not only in Northeast Asia, but for the world as well. He also noted how the anniversary is a reminder of how much importance the U.S. places on security for the Korean Peninsula. U.S. was one of 16 UN countries that lent South Korea a helping hand during the Korean War. Around 36,000 American soldiers were killed during the conflict. As today marks the 71st anniversary of the outbreak of the Korean War, to pay respects, President Moon Jae-in on Thursday invited people of national merit and their families to the top office. During the luncheon, 4 figures were presented with medals for their contributions to the country. Kim Min-ji reports.
President Moon Jae-in has vowed utmost respect to those who sacrificed and devoted their lives to the country. Moon had a luncheon with war veterans and patriots at the Blue House on Thursday, a day ahead of the 71st anniversary of the Korean War, a bloody conflict that tore a nation in two.
국빈을 맞이하는 마음으로 국가유공자와 보훈가족 여러분을 모셨습니다. 애국은 대한민국의 뿌리입니다. 더 강한 대한민국을 위해 국가유공자와 보훈가족께서 오랫동안 애국의 유산을 전해주시길 바랍니다. 정부는 국가를 위한 희생과 헌신에 끝까지 최상의 예우를 다할 것입니다.
The guests were provided with state-level treatment, receiving a police escort on their way to the Blue House, and were greeted upon arrival by National Security Advisor Seo Hoon and Minister of National Veterans Affairs Hwang Ki-cheol. The month of June is time for remembrance for patriots and veterans in South Korea. Ahead of the luncheon, Moon also gave medals in person to 4 people, including Korean and Vietnam War veterans, for their contributions. The medals are usually given by the Prime Minister.
국가보훈 국민훈장과 국민포장을 제가 직접 드리게 되어 더욱 뜻깊게 생각합니다. 젊은 시절 국가를 위해 헌신하고 평생 나눔과 상생의 정신을 실천해 오신 4분 유공자께 깊이 감사드립니다.
President Moon said that South Korea has become a symbol of hope for the world in its fight to overcome COVID-19 and achieving economic recovery, stressing that he was able to confirm the country's changed global status during the G7 summit last week. He added that the world is calling South Korea a country which is strong in times of crisis, saying that this has been earned through patriotism. Kim Min-ji, Arirang News.
And marking the 71st anniversary of the Korean War, the Incheon branch of South Korea's Ministry of Patriots and Veterans Affairs have installed mailboxes to collect thank you letters from the public. Our Choi Won-jung has the story from Incheon.
In the corner of this subway station in Incheon is a red mailbox. But it's not an ordinary mailbox, rather it's a box that delivers letters of appreciation for Korean War veterans. As part of a campaign launched in April by South Korea's Ministry of Patriots and Veterans Affairs, these thanks to heroes postboxes have been placed at several locations across the city.
We give postcards to someone we care about the most while traveling. I thought that could be a simple way to show our appreciation. And for the mailbox, we chose this because we wanted to be a bridge that connects between veterans and the public.
The letters can be posted in the mailboxes or sent online. More than 10,000 cards in Korean and over 15,000 cards in English have been gathered so far, mostly from schools across the country. One student from the city of Paju said this campaign was something very close to her heart.
My dream is to become a military officer. It was a meaningful event with my friends who had same dreams as me. I even saw some of my friends crying while writing the letters. I felt so grateful.
저는 오늘 대한민국을 지켜주신 모든 분들께 감사의 말씀을 드리기 위해 엽서를 작성하게 되었습니다. 목숨 바쳐 이 나라를 지켜주셔서 진심으로 감사드립니다. 당신의 희생과 헌신을 우리는 잊지 않고 기억하겠습니다.
Those written letters have been sent out to Korean War veterans both in Korea and overseas. The Korean War veteran Ko Young-hee still remembers the day when he received a letter from the students.
I actually received letters a few times. I feel very grateful when I read those thank you cards from students and organizations. I am deeply touched that these young students know so much about the Korean War and write these letters to us.
As he turns 87 years old this year, he hopes that people just don't forget the sacrifices made for the country.
But the veteran added that what's more important is that remember those fallen soldiers with deep gratitude every year. 최원조, 아리랑 뉴스 인천.
South Korea reported 634 new COVID-19 cases Friday, staying in the 600s for the third straight day. Now, of the new cases, all but 32 were locally transmitted. One more patient has died of the virus, bringing the death toll to 2,009. The total number of cases recorded has surpassed the 153,000 mark. Now, as the nation ramps up vaccination efforts, more than 4.5 million people have been fully vaccinated as of this morning. While South Korean health authorities are rolling out COVID-19 vaccinations, they're already gearing up for the possibility that people might need ongoing regular shots in the future. The World Health Organization also says regular booster shots may be needed, especially with the rampant spread of new variants. Kim Hyo-san reports.
In order to better respond to the rampant spread of COVID-19 variants that are known to be more transmissible than the original strain, South Korean health authorities are mulling over the possibility of rolling out booster shots of the COVID-19 vaccines. Boosters are an extra dose of a vaccine following full vaccination with either 1 or 2 dose regimen vaccines in order to enhance or maintain immunity against the virus.
We are reviewing plans for booster shots for those who've been fully immunized to respond to new variants and boost immunity.
The government says it is closely monitoring similar moves in other countries to decide which vaccines will be used for the booster shot and at what intervals. The government also signaled that it's open to cross-inoculation, citing research that shows such moves have enhanced vaccine efficacy in responding to new variants and boosting immunity. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention also said that booster shots could be needed for the country's more vulnerable groups, the elderly people or transplant recipients. Experts, however, did not rule out the possibility that the general population may eventually need an extra shot if immunity from the vaccines wanes or if the effectiveness of current vaccines is reduced for newer variants. The World Health Organization also anticipates that the world's vulnerable populations will need to get COVID-19 booster shots annually to be protected against variants. It also said that the general population may need them every 2 years. Kim Hye-sun, Arirang News.
The UK has now fully vaccinated 60% of its adult population against COVID-19, but the Delta variant remains a massive headache for health authorities. However, this isn't only Britain suffering. Many other countries are also being hit hard by the highly transmissible strain. Lee Seung-jae has more.
Having had an early start to its vaccination program and securing a large number of COVID-19 vaccines from the get-go, the UK has been praised for its vast and rapid vaccination rollout. On Thursday, the UK surpassed another milestone, having fully vaccinated 60% of all adults in Britain. More than 31.7 million people have received both doses, while over 82% of the population have had one. Health officials are calling on the public to continue getting their second doses, especially given the situation with the Delta variant. With it now the dominant strain in the UK, the country reported another 16,703 new cases over the past 24 hours, up from 11,007 cases last week. The Delta variant is now being reported in more than 90% of new cases in the UK, and health experts warn the daily figure could surpass 20,000. In Germany, the number of COVID-19 infections caused by the Delta variant has doubled over the past week and is likely to gain more traction. In response, Germany's cabinet on Wednesday approved plans to increase borrowing by nearly $120 billion next year, bringing the total pandemic-linked debt to more than $560 billion. In Israel, the country's COVID-19 czar said Thursday that their indoor mask mandate will return early next week in order to stem a rise in new cases. The announcement comes as the country reported 169 new cases on Thursday, Israel's highest daily tally in months. Despite the latest surge, Israel's health ministry is not yet recommending a restriction on gatherings. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
South Korean consumers are feeling more optimistic about the economy, but businesses are less confident. Business sentiment for all industries remained unchanged in June compared to the previous month. The Bank of Korea says the business sentiment index for this month stands at 88 points, the same as May. A reading below 100 means pessimists about the economy outnumber optimists. But BSI among manufacturers is at 98, up 2 points on month, driven by strong exports. Sentiment among non-manufacturing businesses stayed the same as May. Despite being hampered by thunderstorms, rescue efforts continue after a 12-story condo collapsed Thursday in Surfside in the U.S. state of Florida. At least 99 people are still missing, according to the Miami-Dade Police Department. At least one person has been confirmed dead and 11 injured after the residential building collapsed. The mayor of Surfside says the building was undergoing construction at the time, but the cause is still unclear. So far, search teams have accounted for 102 people and have pulled out 37 people out of the rubble. The Biden administration has offered federal aid to make sure everything is in place as the search and rescue operation continues. The demilitarized zone separating the two Koreas has become the safe home for wildlife over the decades. Almost untouched by human activities, the area accounts for only 1% of the South, but has 16% of the country's biodiversity. Lee Kyung-eun sheds light on the ecological value of DMZ.
Ever since the Korean War left the peninsula divided, human activities in the demilitarized zone on the inter-Korean border have been kept to a minimum. That has made the area one of the last remaining shelters for many endangered species. Those include the long-tailed goral, which is at the highest risk of extinction and is the country's natural monument number 217. On the ground is a little dung beetle, also endangered. And spotted on some farmland are red-crowned cranes searching for food. Every winter, nearly half of the global population of these cranes migrate to the riverside of Incheon and Paju.
They were once found across the country, but because of the impact of famine in North Korea and development in the south, they're now detected only in this confined area along the DMZ.
And unique to the streams in the north of Kosan County are black star fat minnows. According to a recent 5-year survey by the Ministry of Environment, over 4,300 species, including 44 endangered species, can be found in the DMZ. That's pretty remarkable because the area they surveyed from the civilian control line to the southern limit line accounts for only 1% of South Korea's land, but it has 16% of all living species in the country. The Environment Ministry says that's similar to the biodiversity of a national park. But this place is also facing a growing threat because of development plans. An endangered species already disappearing, with their number having nearly halved from the 91 species recorded in a survey in 2016. The government says it will set out preservation measures for different sections depending on their risk of extinction. 이경은, 아리랑 뉴스.
Welcome. It's time for The World Now, bringing you some of the most interesting news from around the globe. I'm Ji-young. It's a lifelong dream for many to go to space, and it turns out that more than 22,000 people applied to the European Space Agency to achieve their dreams to become the next space travelers. The ESA says it's thrilled by the interest level because the number of applicants is up roughly 2.5 times since the agency ran its last hiring drive in 2008.
I think what we see is quite historic. Having more than 22,000 applicants is quite a number. We have all been astonished, and you have heard it before, what this means. It's much more than we expected.
There was also a significant jump in the number of women committed to exploring space. 24% or some 5,400 applicants were women, up from 15% in 2008. The ESA particularly sought out people with physical disabilities as the agency is trying to study for the first time how to accommodate them better in space stations. Candidates will have to undergo fierce competition as just 4 to 6 people will be chosen as Europe's next astronauts. A scientist in Australia says he likes to spend time talking to frogs. Michael Mahoney, a 70-year-old biology professor, says he has mastered imitating and understanding the numerous shrills, croaks, and whistles of frogs, and he gets a thrill whenever frogs in the wild call back. But he's not doing this just for fun because their silence tells something important about the environment.
They're telling us that there's something wrong with our environment when an animal that's been around for so long and is so resilient is all of a sudden dropping out. So they live in water, we drink water. We use water, they live in water. If they are dying, then we need to be looking at our habitats and asking what is wrong.
About 240 species of frogs exist in Australia, but roughly 30% of them are at risk for many reasons, including climate change, water pollution, and habitat loss. The expert said frogs are currently the most threatened of all vertebrates globally. The famous prehistoric Lascaux caves have come to life for tourists almost 60 years after they were made off-limits, only this time from Paris using virtual reality. Thanks to technology, groups of 6 visitors will be able to take a 45-minute tour through the 235-meter-long cave network starting July 8th. The caves located in southern France, which were first discovered in 1940, are deemed as one of the most important archaeological findings of the 20th century due to cave paintings found there drawn by ancient humans. It was closed to the public in 1963 after carbon dioxide, heat, and humidity produced by around 2,000 visitors per day damaged the paintings.
Good morning. Please keep an umbrella handy in case of passing rain today. Inland regions could see sudden rain of 5 to 30 millimeters during the day, along with thunder and lightning. Elsewhere, though, we'll be under mostly cloudy to sunny skies. And it's going to be as warm as yesterday here in the capital, topping out at 28 degrees Celsius this afternoon, while the southern provinces will be slightly warmer today, with Daegu and Gwangju hitting at 29 degrees. Well, we are looking at another round of rain tomorrow across Korea, and it looks to be scorching hot on Sunday at a high of 30 degrees Celsius here in Seoul. And about the rain tomorrow, central regions will be seeing 10 to 40 millimeters, and the south and Jeju will be seeing 5 to 20. While the capital will see rain early in the morning and will be covered with lots of clouds all day. Next week looks to be brighter and warmer. In fact, the weather should stabilize in July. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the weather conditions around the world.
That will do it for us at this hour on Arirang News. We'll be back at noon Korea time, so stay tuned. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.
Earth, the green planet that we call home. 70% of the global surface is covered by water. Only 30% is land that we can step on. Do you know that half of the Earth's land surface is dry lands? The problem is, these dry lands keep expanding and there's less and less land where people can live. The soil is drying up. This phenomenon is called desertification. Desertification is caused by excessive crop and livestock farming, as well